Right. Pour myself another drink. Who are the hegemons at the moment? Just Jordland. Although Jordland doesn't have enough ships to actually be ticking up as the hegemon. Probably doesn't think his economy can afford it, which is probably true. Although Jordland... Was it Jordland that was richest nation in the world? Oh yeah, I forgot. Great projects were in this as well. Army, Navy, national income. So yeah, Jordland is currently the wealthiest nation in the world. So if anyone could afford so many heavy ships, it would be them. They do make a lot of money, so they could definitely afford them. And they even have the naval force limit. They are currently building another 3. Ah, here we go. Yes, they're doing it. That's going to get them 298. That's going to be 1 short still. Oh! Doesn't have ledger. You can't actually see how many Everthil has. Right, let me just do something if I go from your perspective. Look at Everthil. He doesn't have a clue how many ships Everthil has. So he's just going to keep building them until he knows. Meanwhile, player war, which is expanding in scope. So we've got small country. This is the Arboran conquest of Rovibob against the small country. Arboran Bjarnrik versus small country Adenica, Eberthil, Lorent. Eberthil, I think, is probably doing this as a defender of the faith and will not get involved, as Eberthil never gets involved. So this is going to be small country Lorent and Adenica. Adenica needs to be careful here that they don't get too heavily weakened, seeing as they did not take up the opportunity to go after Cryanvar. But they also probably have among the most to gain from this. This feels like a dangerous war to have been declared by Arboran. I don't feel like Arboran and Bjarnrik are going to have enough to do this. Because bear in mind that these guys are mostly cavalry forces. So the fact that they have more infantry than the attackers is a bad sign. Plus the 308,000 cavalry against the 17,000. 323,000 artillery against 164,000. I usually actually find that the artillery comparison gives you the most accurate representation of how many numbers you're actually up against. But this province is already looking rather weak. They do have defensiveness up and running at the moment. Small country do have armies with cannon. They'll need to merge those two together in order that they join at the same time. However, it is Lorent that is throwing themselves into the field and into the fray first. Cavalry doing their thing. 6.8 morale versus 5.9. 114 discipline against 108. Lorent with their secret vampire guardians. Oh yes, and we also get to see the orcish flower of chivalry from Adenica. Totally forgot about Adenica's forces being orcs now. And orcs do more shock damage, which combined with cavalry is kind of dangerous. And we do have an Adenica force coming in. So at the moment, Lorent seems to be losing a lot of their initiative. Trying to catch how many numbers are being lost. 3,000 on Lorent's side, that's not good. However, the fight I really want to watch is this one. I want to see Adenica kicking ass and taking names. So at the moment, they are doing more damage. Here's the shock phase. 2,000 to 100. Oh man, Arboran are getting absolutely butchered. However, during the fire phase, it is reversed. Arboran bringing in reinforcements, but Arboran's front line's just not looking too healthy at the moment. And in fact, Arboran is completely overstacked their artillery. They've got artillery in the front line. And the back line is not complete. It's like a quarter infantry at the moment. Whereas Adenica's down 2. They've actually got the wrong numbers. Adenica currently has the wrong number of cavalry to infantry. They need to have some more infantry forces to send in. Unfortunately, they're all cavalry, but during those shock phases, good lord, 6,000 kills. 7,000. You know, just in case 6,000 wasn't enough. And Arberand's artillery is in the front row, and this has gone very bad. And there we go. That is a defeat for Bjornrik and Arberand, and Adenica take the first victory over on that side. Meanwhile, over here we have the battle which is continuing. Switching over to Lorent's perspective. Lorent with 300 and 3,000. This is a -2 now for Arberand. Arberand does not have the troops nearby. Lorent still has another 100k, another 30k. Bjornrik does have an 84k down there, ready to reinforce. We've got the Red Glades coming north with their crazy good discipline. But I do kind of wonder if Lorent and Small Country just have enough force limits to force this fight, because it does look like Arberand's forces are fairly substantially better than Lorent's and Small Country's. But the advantage Lorent has is not the quality of their armies. It feels like it should be, because Lorent have some really good military bonuses. The benefit that Lorent has is just the sheer numbers that they can bring to the table. Lorent in this game fights a bit more like Russia. They just keep on coming. Anyway, Lorent did indeed win that first victory, so they have lifted the siege over there, whereas Adenica is still sieging down Free Tower and looks to have free reign on doing that. Bjornrik still has a couple of troops still in the north. Westmore's not getting involved. Arberand's navy is patrolling down here. We've got another fight, Lorent against Bjornrik at the moment. Let's see this from Lorent's perspective. Again, Lorent has the problem with their generals are just not very good. 5-3-5 versus a 4-5-4. And what Lorent wants is more shock, because that's where the cavalry come in. But again, that's another victory for Lorent there. A little bit of a surprising assault by Bjornrik at that point. I don't think they'd really rallied their troops together, ready for another attack. Meanwhile, we've got Adenica trying to siege down the fort. And if these two ever get together, then Lorent's going to be starting to be led by Adenica generals, and I think that's when things get dangerous. And there we go. Free Tower has fallen, so that is the first of Arberand's defences. And what was an offensive war has very quickly become a defensive one. And yeah, Eberthil not getting involved. However, Eberthil being in this war means that if Vern decides to invade, for example, Eberthil won't be called, because they'll be on the defender's side. Until they peace out, as they inevitably will. Ah, yes, Adenica is indeed at war by Kreinvar, and this is why Adenica and Marhold had to go after Kreinvar when Kreinvar was busy with Soldier Sat. And the fact they didn't, I think, is now about to doom Marhold. Because Kreinvar has had time to recover 600,000 manpower and a tiny bit of professionalism, not a huge amount, but that 600,000 manpower against 130? I mean, Marhold hits hard, don't get me wrong, they can hit very, very hard. Ooh, we've got Chaos coming in. What's Chaos doing here? Whose side are you on? Chaos with Holy Victor. Are you subsidizing anyone? Because you're not making a lot of money right now. No. Chaos was trying to peace out Marhold. Yeah. So this is Kreinvar versus Adenica, Small Country and Marhold, not Lorent. And I think right now Adenica has a lot more to gain by fighting over here against Arberand. Take Arberand out and maybe get a joint borders with Small Country, and then you'd continually have support from Lorent and Small Country. Unfortunately, at this point, Marhold is just a bit of a doomed entity. Chaos was allied to Marhold last season. Are they still? much easier to see this by clicking on you. Truce with Revellion, Tullum, Blueheart, Coruvia, Ashenade. Allied to Vern, Adenica, and Chaos. So who was this war against? Oh, it was against Adenica. Wasn't Adenica allied to Lorent? No. Lorent's allied to Vernon, small country. So Adenica lost Lorent as an ally. Maybe had to replace it with Marhold? Adenica's not a great power. No. I'm a little bit surprised that Adenica and Lorent dropped that alliance. Like, that is an alliance made in heaven between those two. Because they're both cavalry heavy. Meanwhile, we've got Encardia and Adenica currently sieging stuff down. And Krynvar slowly but surely heading north. Has Marhold spent time like building any extra forts or anything? No. No, they haven't. Because that's about the only thing that probably could have stopped this wave coming in, to just have a solid border of forts. Maybe even 2 lines of them. Cause some attrition and cause Krynvar to think twice about trying to attack across that way. But Marhold's just been on the back foot since 3 sessions ago. 4 sessions ago? 5 sessions ago? Is Marhold Revellion? Yes. Yes, they are. Which means... what? Unrest reduction. Don't actually know anything about the Revellion faith in this. Institution spread plus 20%, and then they have Veridicals. Oh, they have the Catholic mechanics. So the Revellion state is currently the Curia controller. They have the High Rectorate. So they can use Artificer taxes. Tutelage. Revellion Scholars. Blessed Ruler. Beatify Local Saint. Warrior Automata. That's pretty cool. Holy Research. And Commercial Monopoly. So, here's the question. How many forts are these two going to have to get through to support each other? 7. That might take a while. Meanwhile, Encardia is about to get attacked here by Arboran again. So let's go in on here. And this is actually going to be a really good one, because we've got Encardian infantry, who are excellent, alongside Adenica cavalry, who are also excellent. So that central line of infantry is going to be held by the Encardians. And yeah, this combination is just absolutely demolishing Arboran. Arboran is having to send in a lot of extra troops, because look at those casualties. It's just... and this is both phases now. Fire and shock, because we've got the Encardian back line who have the fire bonuses, because Encardia's basically the Prussia of this game. 9,000 losses! Flipping hell. Arboran just has no answer to this. This is like fighting against Ovdal Khanzad in their mountainous forts. And yeah, they don't really care about the penalties from having cavalry. Their cavalry is just too good. And unfortunately, one of the reinforcement armies arrived too early. The second one arrived too late. They're about to go and butcher that 12k. And it looks like this 55,000 is also going to get butchered. Although during the fire phase, they definitely do take more casualties. I don't know why so many of Adenica's cavalry is getting into the back line. Because, what are they called? Encardia do have enough artillery to fill the back line. And that was a series of resounding defeats for Arboran. That's Krynvar. Arboran have lost 667,000. And the other team have lost 507,000. I'd love to know how many of this 667 is due to Adenica. Unfortunately, Kryenvar is still just sweeping across Marhold. Adenica doesn't seem to be doing anything to support. Chaos has now been black flagged. And this looks to be the end of Marhold. Arkmill and Red are being quite effective in this multiplayer. Yeah, they seem to be. Meanwhile, Flood Hill has fallen, but Flood Hill does not have a fort. But South Flood Marshes do, and the South Flood Marshes have now been taken. But the problem here is going to be Kryenvar. Kryenvar has moved across the border to take one province, Trialwood, from Adenica, but so far Adenica has done nothing to attack them. Marhold coming in with a 60k. Marhold, of course, with the best general in the world, although not currently using them. Oh man, imagine that shock. Imagine that general leading Adenica. Like if Marhold and Adenica were working together with an 11 shock general and all the cavalry. Ow! Huzzah! Black Cayman, thank you very much for the subscription, coming in with a 20-month resub. Very much appreciate that, thank you. Yeah, Marhold's just throwing in what they can because there's just nothing they can do. Their allies don't seem interested in helping them, they're more interested in going after Arboran. And we always saw this, like we always said that Kryenvar was going to be the threat here, and nobody has been dealing with Kryenvar. Like nobody in Canor seems to particularly care. We saw that very brief invasion from Everthil going after Phoenix Empire, which is of course the one funding Kryenvar. And we'll see if that's still actually true. No, Anbennar. Really? So Anbennar is trying to get Escan killed right now. Yep. Okay. You do realise, Anbennar, that as soon as these guys are dead, they are coming for you. And there we go. Peace has been declared. Marhold is out, and now Kryenvar can focus entirely on Adenica, and Adenica does not have access to that 11 shock general. Like, I love the fact that Adenica's been chewing up Arboran, because Arboran's been a massive thorn on Adenica's side for ages. But now Adenica's going to be fighting pretty much on their own against Kryenvar. I just hope that Adenica's done enough damage over here to keep Arboran off their back. But this is giving Small Country and Lorent time to rally their forces and come in. So Arboran still has 207,000 manpower. Bjornrik still has more than 500,000. Lorent still has more than 500,000. Small Country has 250,000. Adenica's 176,000 against 550,000. So this really is going to be down to whether Adenica has the quality. We do have Ancardia coming in to support. I think these two need to work together a little bit better. You need that back line of artillery, because right now you don't have any. Ancardia, where are you? You need to force march here, buddy. No artillery in the back line whatsoever. This is really bad for Adenica. Like, during the fire phases, they're getting obliterated because they have nothing protecting the front line. And they can't afford these losses. Like, during the shock phase, sure, they're kicking ass. Alright, there's now one Encardian. No, okay, there's a couple of Encardian artillery appearing in the back line now. But that was some really bad coordination. But that 7k ticks are now showing. Now we're starting to see some artillery support. Because remember, half of the artillery pips count towards the front line as well. And they also help screen the front line from damage. I think what they really need to do is get Ancardia to just attach to the Adenica army. And that's 3k losses a pip. I mean, Volta the First is a... Oh, he's also a mage. Okay, so they actually have a 11 shock guy leading these armies now. Kryenvar having to throw in more and more troops into this. But I just don't know if Adenica has the muscle to back this. They need someone with a lot of manpower. Like, this is the role that Small Country has always played in the past. Small country absorbs the damage and lets Adenica dish it out. But small country's busy with Arvaran right now. So Adenica is sent packing. I hope that Adenica has built enough forts here to hold up Krynvar. Like, they've got the patchwork to an extent, but I think to a large part they were waiting for Marhold, or letting Marhold do the defending. So in terms of kills, 500,000 killed on Krynvar's side for 82,000 on Adenica's. Like, that kill-death ratio is flipping amazing. But loss. Well, those were all of Marhold's battles, but still. Oh, right, this is not going to include Marhold's losses. So we don't actually know how much damage Adenica inflicted in that last fight. But considering they're outnumbered 2-1 and still did that much. The problem Adenica has is they're just so isolated. I guess they could take that fort, and then they would have a bit of a coastline where allies could ship in troops. But that's putting a lot of focus on just one position. Meanwhile, we have another Lorentish fight over here against Bjornrik. Bjornrik now taking the bigger losses. Nope. In the fire phase, Lorent suffers. In the shock phase, Bjornrik suffers. Bjornrik does have a 3-star general against Lorent's 2. Small country coming in with some extra reinforcements just to keep the lines going. Unfortunately, Bjornrik's back line there for a second moved forwards, meaning that some of the Bjornrik back line is not artillery, whereas the Lorentish one is. A little bit of bad timing there. Lorent's going to be wanting to bring in some reinforcements soon, because their own front line's starting to buckle. Bjornrik's front line... Nope, that grey is Arvaran, isn't it? It's not empty, it's Arvaran. Lorent's morale now looking a lot more healthy than Bjornrik's, but Bjornrik and Arvaran still have plenty of soldiers nearby that they can send in. Just sitting here on the sidelines preparing, waiting for their opportunity. Another 20k Arvaran coming in to support against Lorent. However, they are taking 3,000 casualties a tick at the moment. Because their front line is just getting a little bit butchered. Small country is now mostly in the front line for Lorent, so we can definitely expect to see Lorent's casualties starting to rise. Because I don't think small country has started to use mercenaries yet. They've been using regular troops. And then I guess once their manpower pool is tapped, and they have a lot of manpower, then they'll start using mercenaries. And with all the advantages of small country mercenaries. Have small country been trying to get professionalism at all, or they're just not bothering? No, just not bothering. No real surprise. You want to be free to get those mercenaries, because the mercenaries do just fight better. Another 100,000 Lorentish infantry moving into the fight. Ready to reinforce, because Lorent is definitely taking some extra damage. There they go, they've arrived. So we've got... Who's blue? It's a Adenica. Oh no, it's Wedsdown. Interesting. 462,000 now in this fight against 230. Oh, we got another Adenica fight. 100,000 against 100,000. Adenica with only 30,000 reinforcements left to bring in. They do have the... Oh, that's Arianon. Ancardian artillery backlines. The Ancardian still doing so much damage during the shock phase. It's disgusting, really. Krynvar is definitely going to be made to bleed for this, but imagine if they were doing this while defending Marhold's forts. It's just... Like, at the time, it was probably the right idea to try and blitz down Arbaran to try and get a connection to small countries so small country can come help you out. But Arboran has done a really good job of fortifying. Like, Arboran knows the importance of forts and they've been utilising them. And I hope that's a lesson that some of the other players are going to start taking to heart. Because forts control movement. And if you can stop your opponents moving through your country, then you have the opportunity of being reinforced. You have that extra space to fall back and build your armies back up again. And instead, at the moment, most of Marhold fell within months of the war starting. Adenika's going to fall really quickly because they don't have enough forts to fall back on to let their armies and morale recover so they can jump back into the fray and start chopping up elves again. Like, the elves have lost half of their manpower already so far. I mean, financially they're okay. Actually, no, they've taken 5 loans already. Adenika haven't taken any. Adenika's getting subsidies from Kairos and Yordland. Meanwhile, Arboran and Bjarnrik are moving back in, so it looks like Lorent lost the fight over here. Needing to rally some more troops, prepare for another push. But unlike this side, these guys have actually been building forts. Arboran in particular. I mean, small country have a few. There's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. Yeah, I mean, both sides have fortified these borders pretty extensively. Arboran and Co have lost 1 million. Small country and Co have lost 867,000. And in the other war against Kreinvar, Kreinvar have lost 790,000 for 188. Like, the losses that Anbennar can incur are eye-watering. Small country, the halflings, yes. Oh, we got another fight. The fights over here seem to be coming in thick and fast. So again, Lorent caught on the back foot. Probably not going to get reinforced. Small country kind of snoozing here without bringing their troops in. Okay, small country is starting to dribble in, but I have a feeling that may be too late. Well, Lorent's front line actually has a pretty decent amount of morale. So they seem to be judging this pretty well. I mean, going at speed 2, you have time to look at the morale of each individual unit. You can see their current morale, 2.5, 2.3, 2.1, 1.7. So you can kind of judge when you need to send in the next waves. Meanwhile, Bjarnrik's starting a second battle against Lorent over here. Small country and Lorent now going to have to be watching both of these fights to decide when to join. Lorent still having a pending disaster with the vampires, although that still has not triggered. They attack during the halfling second breakfast. Not 11sies. You can't attack during 11sies. That's criminal. And then we've got the Kreinvar minions doing the sieging, letting Kreinvar sit back and not take too much damage. Lorent and Arboran here in the north seem to be ticking over quite nicely. I mean, there are just hundreds of thousands of soldiers just waiting to join the fray, arriving just in the nick of time to stop the fights ending. Well, except for here, apparently, where 20k arrived just too late. Small country have been watching this fight very carefully. We can see now that small country have been arriving. A couple of small country artillery in the back line as well.